Wow, look at that moon. Last night it was just as beautiful as this, but not quite as full as it is now. That looks darn near pretty close to being a very full moon. And so it seems like a very good night for a night chat.
Welcome to another beautiful night for a night chat here on Tommy Travels the Second. I'm not going to be introducing it that way every single time, so don't worry about that. I'm just in a weird mood here tonight. It must be a almost completely full moon outside or something. Well, tonight we are going to have a nice night chat. It's going to be a little bit different than some of the paranormal stuff that we've done, like the UFOs or ghosts and things like that. This one is going to be a little different. We've covered near-death experiences before on Night Chat, but we have not covered how you die. What is the worst way to pass away? That is a question that comes up every once in a while in these kinds of conversations, and so that's what we're going to cover here tonight. If you are brand new to this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on a thing, and I will see you right after this. So before we start, I just want to say if death is a topic that makes you squeamish or sad or it bothers you for some reason, you have my permission to not watch this video. That is absolutely fine with me. I'm not trying to bring up any types of feelings or issues that folks have with this topic at all. So, no hard feelings if you have to skip through this one because you're dealing with that as a personal issue of some kind. Just go ahead and back out now, because from here on forward, that's what the topic is going to be about, is death and the most terrible ways to pass away. So, here we go. And so what is the worst way to pass away? That is probably a slightly different answer for everybody, because people have different fears of different things. One person might say drowning would be the worst because they have a fear of water and just a fear of drowning in general, where somebody else might say, no, no way, being burned would be way worse than that. And of those two, I would agree with the burning for sure, because it seems like it'd be a lot slower and a lot more painful before you pass out and die. In the water, you're just underwater, and eventually your brain just shuts everything off and you're gone. Burning to death, though, that sounds like it hurts. That stings like the dickens right there. So I think drowning and burning, those are both bad ways to die, but I think we can all agree they are not the worst ways to die. There are other things that can happen that make those look like a walk in the park. Like, what if you're walking in the park and then a bear or a lion comes up and starts attacking you? That would not be fun. I think that would be worse than either one of them. Or what if you fall in the park and then you get devoured by a bunch of red ants? They start biting you and going all over your body, so just little pinches at a time. Or stung by bees. Those are all, the animal stuff really gets me, because that stuff isn't necessarily, oh, I'm drowning, or oops, I fell off a building and now I'm dead. This is like, oh crap, this is terrible, this hurts, oh no, get me out of here. There's a whole, that could go on for minutes before you finally pass away from it, or even longer, depending on how it all turns out. That one is tough for me. I can't imagine being devoured by an animal. No thank you. And so the things that we've been talking about so far have been pretty relatively quick ways to pass away. Now, something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy is something like a terminal disease. You know, like I wouldn't wish cancer on my very worst enemy. That is just a terrible monster. And with all of the research, you'd think we'd be making more progress towards curing that than we have. It's 2019. I wish we would speed up this process a little bit. It's not like money isn't being donated to it. And I know that research is slow, but I'm looking forward to a day when you know, it's like, oh, I came down with some cancer. Okay, well, no big deal. Just go into the clinic and they'll give you the thing and you'll be just fine. Oh, good. Or the day that comes where it's like, remember when people used to get cancer? Wow, that was tough. But those days are in the future. And so right now that goes way up there on the list as the worst ways to pass away. And so stepping away from terminal diseases, which we can all agree are a horrible way to pass away. And so what I want to move on to is back to the animal kingdom in a way, where if you were to get bit by a very venomous spider or bee, that can be pretty darn excruciating. And the reason I know that is because there is a guy with a YouTube channel, and I can't remember the name of the channel. I wish I could, otherwise I'd say it. But I think the guy's name, his name is Coyote or something like that. But he is crazy. He decided to start a journey, a challenge to himself to see what the worst sting is in the insect kingdom. So he started off small to build his tolerance with just normal like yellow jacket, wasp, you know, normal stuff that we've all probably encountered a time or two in our lifetimes. But then he did research and found out which ones are even worse than those and which ones are even worse than those. And he worked his way all the way up to one that he deemed was the worst insect bite that a human could endure. And I'm not going to say which one it was, not that I even really remember exactly, but if you find his channel, it's something that's very interesting and disturbing to watch at the same time. The guy's insane. But you get stung by one of those on the arm, and he was writhing in pain, rolling on the ground with some of them in pain right afterwards. And that pain could last for hours. Absolutely paralyzing types of pain where he could barely even breathe or move or anything. Just from one insect bite. Now they had a medical team there because this is not exactly safe. It's a dangerous activity that he's doing for this channel. So they had stuff there where if they needed to give him medical treatment, they were right there to do it if he was going to pass out or something dangerous were to happen. And so he's okay and everything was fine, but my gosh, that looked horrible. And then there's the flesh-eating virus. I've seen stuff on this one too, and that one looks absolutely insane. I don't know how you get the flesh-eating virus, but whatever it is, stay away from it because it slowly eats away at your skin. Incredibly painful, and there's really nothing the doctors can do about it. And I don't want to say much more than that because I try not to be too graphic on this channel. And so if you haven't seen anything about the flesh-eating virus, go ahead and look it up on your own. But that is, yeah, stay away from that. And so now we come to the last one, the final, what I consider to be the worst way to pass away. And before I say it, I want to just say that all of the things that I've mentioned so far, absolutely terrible ways to pass away. And if you can avoid it, definitely you're going to want to do that. If at all possible. And so for me, the worst way to pass away would be through torture. There are insane people out there, serial killers and crazies that do terrible things to other human beings. And some of them are very good at what they do. They're very experienced at doing terrible things to other human beings. And sometimes you hear about situations where people are kept alive for days or weeks or maybe even months before they actually die from the experience. And to me, that is absolutely the worst. You know, if somebody can inflict pain on you just enough to where you pass out and then let you be and then come back and you have to keep enduring things over and over and over again for an unspecified amount of time. And we've all seen shows like Criminal Intent or Law and Order or some of those things where they show these serial killers where it's just, they just have no conscience, no soul. You're just stuck there. It's just, that's the stuff that nightmares are made of. And that to me is that would be the absolute worst way to pass away. And so now we have covered many of the worst ways to pass away. But this could be a little depressing to think about, so I want to end on a more slightly positive note. Still having to do with dying, but at least what would be the best way to pass away? That's a little more positive, right? And so, I guess old age, right? Or at least, you know, comfortably in your sleep or surrounded by friends and family, knowing that you have lived life well and experienced the things that you wanted to experience and saw the things that there are to see. And you know that it's time to move on to the next life and you've dealt with everything, all of your affairs are in order, and you're ready to just say, okay, now it's time, I can go. I think that would probably be the most ideal situation as far as passing away. But maybe you've got even a better idea too. Doing something that you love, you know, right in the middle, you know, in your prime maybe. You're like, hey, this is what I love to do. If I want to die, it'd be doing this. What would that thing be? I'd love to hear about that in the comments below as well. Well, you guys, this has been another very successful night chat here on Tommy Travels the Second. And if you've got some worse ways to pass away than anything that we've talked about yet here tonight, please leave it in the comments below. It would be interesting to find out what could possibly be worse than what we've talked about here so far. Or if you have what would be the best way to pass away that we didn't talk about here, leave that in the comments below as well. And I hate to ask people in this video to like or subscribe based on the topics that we've been talking about here today, so I'm not going to do that. You guys, thank you so much for the support that you've given me so far. So until next time, I hope to catch you on the flip side. Can you imagine if I did the whole video like that? How annoying that would be. On Tommy Travels the Second. Tommy Travels the First. Tommy Travels the Second. It must be a full moon outside, or almost completely filled moon, full moon.